Hello everyone, my name is Santosh Bama. Welcome to this video of completing the technical configuration page on a SaaS offer. If you're an ISV trying to publish SaaS offers onto Azure Marketplace, this video is for you. I do have another video which completes the technical configuration page by leveraging the commercial marketplace SaaS SDK, but this video is about leveraging the ContosoAMPBasic Sample for completing that same information. So what's the difference? There are a couple of technical differences between the SDK as well as the ContosoAMPBasic Sample. Things like you don't need a SQL Server, and it's pretty lightweight. So let's get started. So this is our partner center where we create our commercial marketplace SaaS offers. So I do have a test offer. So let me just go click on the test offer, the SaaS offer here. As the SaaS offer opens up, you need to fill out this information or these pages to be able to successfully publish the SaaS offer. As part of that, there is again a technical page called the technical configuration page, where you would need the below information here, like the landing page, the webhook, and the Azure AD tenant ID, Azure AD application ID, without which you cannot publish the offer. If you're wondering why this information is needed, I highly recommend you click this learn more link above, which will take you to a page where it actually describes all the SaaS offers and or this I should say actually the SaaS subscription lifecycle, but also the API reference, how do you implement a webhook, and the ContosoAMPBasic Sample is actually built on these APIs. So with that, I again highly recommend you go through this page before we get to completing this information, right? Let's check out what's needed. So what do we need, or what's the prerequisites for getting this up and running? Number one, you need to have an Azure account. Second, you need Azure subscription. You need VS Code, Visual Studio. I'll be using VS Code, but you can use Visual Studio as well. Then we need .NET Core. And as far as the steps are concerned, so we'll create an app registration, and we'll create a storage account, and then we'll create a SendGrid account, and then we'll clone the repository from GitHub, and then we'll test it locally, or make sure everything's running by updating the appropriate app settings, and then we'll deploy the code from Visual Studio to Azure. As part of the first step, let me go into my Azure portal, and then let me go to Azure Active Directory, and then go into app registrations, create new registration. I'll give a name SB SaaS SDK Contoso. That's fine. I'll select accounts in any organizational directory, and then I'll hit register. So this will create my app registration. So we have the app registration ready. So I'll go into the quick start, go to the web application, and select ASP.NET Core, and then it make these changes for me. What this is doing is adding a couple of redirect URIs, but also enabling the implicit grant ID tokens to true. So let me hit make updates here. So this has created my app registration. So that with that, the first step is now done. But the second step, let's go ahead and create a storage account. So let me just go search for storage accounts. We hit storage account, then I'll add a storage account. Let's create a new resource group. Give a name to the resource group, SB Contoso Sample. Let's hit OK, and then I'll give a name, SB Contoso AMP Sample. Just select West US 2, and then I'll just stick to the default and then go review and create. And with that, I'll just hit create. Now this is creating my storage account. So my storage account is now created. So the second step is done. And with that, let's create a SendGrid account. So let me just go SendGrid accounts. I already happen to have one, so I'll use the existing, but if you're creating a new one, just select add and then give the appropriate information. There is a free tier if you want to use. So just fill out this information, and then you will have a storage account created, like the one listed here. So go into the, sorry, I should say SendGrid account created here. With that, go into the SendGrid account and then click Manage. This should take you to the SendGrid application. So this is taking me to the SendGrid application. Now I need an API key for this. So let me just go click Email API and then go Integration Guide. And I'll select Web API and then select C#. I'll give a name as be ContosoAMP Sample and then hit Create Key. So this will give me a key. So with that, we have all the information we need. So let's perform the fourth step. Let's go to the repository in GitHub. So the URL for the repository is github.com/urging/ContosoAMPBasic. I'll paste a link in the description if you need. But to clone this, we'll just go Code and copy this link, open our VS Code, and then click on the GitHub, the source control, and then go Clone Repository, paste the link for the repo, and then just hit Enter. This will ask me to pick a folder. So let me go into my source repos. Then I'll just select an empty folder, select the repo location, and this will clone the code from the GitHub. So the code is now cloned. So let me just hit Open. So this is the source code, and then let's go into the src folder and into the dashboard and open appsettings.json file. So appsettings.json, let me briefly explain what these blocks of settings are there for. So the first one is to actually authenticate your users into this app. And the second block of code is there to manage your customer SaaS subscriptions. And then we have the third one, which is called the dashboard. And this is mainly for the admin users. So what's your operations team email? What's the API key for the SendGrid? And then there is a couple of settings for this dashboard admin. So with that, let's copy across the information we created from the steps 1, 2, and 3. What I'll do is I'll copy all the settings needed into a notepad, and then we'll copy those information from notepad back into the app settings. So with that, let me just go and create a new file here, and then I'll go back to my Azure portal. So as part of the first step, as you know, we've created an Active Directory app registration. So let's go into the app registration. Then first go into the SPS SaaS SDK Contoso, and let's copy the directory tenant ID first. So let me just go copy the whole thing. Go back to my VS Code, paste it there. It's good. Let me copy the application ID. Copy that. Paste it there. And then let's get a secret as well. I'll create a secret. Be ContosoAMPBasic. Let me hit add. That will give me a new secret. Copy that. So I'll just go client secret, which is here. Let me quickly format this for a sec. So we have that information from step 1. Now from step 2, let's go to our storage account, get the storage account connection string. You can go into the storage account, go into the access keys, and there you have your connection strings. Let's copy the connection string and then go storage account connection string. And paste it there. So we have that. And then we need to get the SendGrid account, or the SendGrid API key, I should say. Let's copy the SendGrid API key. And then let's paste it there. Now that we have all the information, so let me guide you on how to put the relevant information into the app settings, right? So let's copy the tenant ID first. So this tenant ID will actually go into the tenant ID on line number 20, but also it goes into your partner center. So if you go into your partner center, you have Azure Ready Tenant ID. That's where you would need to paste the tenant ID. And then let's get the next one, which is your application ID. Copy the application ID. This goes into two places. So on line number 8, but also on line number 18. You can actually use different app registrations if you want, and it's actually a best practice to use different app registration for logging your customers in, but also a different app registration for calling the marketplace APIs. But here I'm just making use of just one of them. And we'll paste the client ID or the application ID into our partner center. And then we'll go to the next setting, which is our client secret. This one will only go into your source code. So let's copy that and paste it in line number 21. And then let's go and get the connection string. Copy the connection string. And this will go into your operations store connection string, which is on line number 27. Now let's update the operations team email address. Give my address. This is where you would like your emails to be received when the customer clicks submit on the landing page. And then I'll update the from email just to say marketplace sft.com. It's just a placeholder. Then let's get the API key for SendGrid. Copy that and paste it in the API key field. And then we have dashboard admin. I'll use the same as my operations team email, but just understand the authorization logic works in a way that if any of your users coming in with this domain user email will be able to access your dashboard page. So just understand that. After this, we'll do a couple of more things. We need the domain name. We missed that. So let's go to our Azure AD. And then on your Azure AD page, you'll see on the main page, you'll see something called primary domain. Copy that and then paste it in the domain name. And the next one is line number 25. Because you haven't published your offer yet, you cannot call the marketplace API. So for that purpose, I'm just going to use the mock endpoint until my offer is actually in the preview stage, and you would have to do the same thing. So I'll just make this as a prod endpoint, and then I'll make this as mock endpoint. So I'll need to change the date here, 09/15. That's the mock API endpoint version. So that's done, but make sure you switch it back once your offer is in the preview. You just need to switch it back and redeploy, or actually change it in your app settings as well. So let me save this and go to my terminal and then new terminal. Now we got all the settings there. I'll just cd into src/dashboard and then do a .NET build. Build is done. So let's hit .NET run. This should application, but the key thing here is that my application is actually running on localhost 5001, and I need to make sure this is added as one of the redirect URIs in my app registration, right? So let's go there and check it if that's actually the case. So let me go into my Azure portal, go into my Active Directory. Actually, I can show you some shortcuts. So you can actually search for app registration straight on this search bar. If I click that, that will take me straight into my app registrations. And then I'll select the app registration we have created and then go to my redirect URIs and see that that's not running on 5001. So let me just update that port number 5001, and then I'll hit save. Let me copy this link and go to a new browser and make sure if my application is working without any issues. Let me paste it there and then go hit enter. So that's now taken me to login page. I'll just select an account and this should take me. This might not work because if you remember, my dashboard admin ends with the domain name Microsoft.com. So let me just use my Microsoft account and then go hit next. Now that's taken me to my consent page. So I'll need to consent for this. So let me accept the consent and this should now take me into the application. So there you go, it's working fine. So let's just double check if the landing page is running okay. So you can test it by using the landing page path and then giving token is equal to 123. I'll just use, you can use a random token number. So that's working fine. With that, I'll also test if the emails are sent out as well, because I've been using. So this is where your customers would land, and they would go to this page and they select the appropriate options and they can click send. And this should ideally send me an email. So let's see if it's actually sending an email. And there you go. I have my email from my landing page. That's working too. Now that we got our application running on local, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a publish package and deploy it up to Azure. For that, let's stop the application first and then paste in a command for .NET Publish with the release, and then I'll update my output to a folder inside the same folder structure I am. So I'll just give the folder name as publish and then just hit enter. This should create a package for you up in your folder structure. So as you can see, we have a publish folder. So right click on the publish folder and click on deploy the web app. If you don't see this option, make sure you install the app service extension for VS Code. So let's deploy to Azure. It'll ask me to select an Azure account. Let me just hit sign in. I'll use my other account where I've created my SendGrid and storage account. Let me just hit sign in. So now that's signed me in. Let me close this. Hit create new web app advanced. Give it a name. So SB ContosoAMPBasic Sample. I'll just give it demo as well, just to make it unique. So let me just hit OK. And then I'll select the SB Contoso Sample resource group. And then I'll go Windows. Let's create a new app service plan. So demo / I'll give a name for the app service plan. Let's hit enter, and then I'll select free just for the sake of the demo, but make sure you choose an appropriate one from the list. Let's hit F1, and then I'll skip the app insights for now, but I highly recommend you have one. Skip for now, and then go again West US 2, and that's actually deploying my application up to Azure, or at least actually creating an app service first, and then it'll actually deploy the application. And let me remind you one thing here. You would never ever want to push in this app settings file up to Azure. Maybe make use of the Key Vault, or maybe use the app settings inside an Azure app service. That's a better way of doing things. So now it's actually deploying the code up to Azure. So this is now deployed my code up to Azure. So let me just look at the output window and go into my Azure App Service, and that's successfully deployed to my web app, which is good. What I want to do is I want to make sure, before I go to this link, I want to make sure I add this link into the redirect URIs. If you remember, we did it for the when we're testing in local, we've actually added the localhost 5001 into our app registration. In the same fashion, we'll add this the Azure App Service link into the redirect URI so that our app registration can actually work properly. So for that, let's paste that in there, and also we'll paste again and have this called sign in -oidc, and then let's hit save. Now that we added the redirect URIs, let's go into new window and then paste that there. So let me just paste it and then go hit. So now that's logged me in. So there you go. Now you have your application running on Azure. And let's go in and make sure our landing page is working fine. So let me put / landing page / token is equal to 123. And that should take me to my landing page, and just make sure your emails are working fine. So with that, let's copy this link up to the including the landing page, and let's go into our partner center. And this becomes your landing page, right? And then given the webhook is actually part of the same application, all you have to do is just change the landing page to webhook, and this becomes your webhook. And there you go. You have all your applications or all your information which you need to actually fill in your technical configuration page. Now make sure you fill out the rest of the pages before you can publish the offer. With that, let's recap what we've done. So what we needed an Azure account, we needed subscription, VS Code, Visual Studio, and .NET Core. And for the steps, we created an app registration, we created a storage account, and we created a SendGrid account. So we cloned the application from the GitHub, and we updated all the app settings from the first 3 steps. And then we ran the code in local and make sure everything's working fine. And then we deployed the code into Azure. After we deployed the code, you get the landing page link from Azure App Service and the webhook link. You paste it into your partner center or your offer technical configuration page. And then also from the app registration, you paste that tenant ID and app ID. With that, I hope that will be helpful for you in completing the rest, or that will help you accelerate your creation of your SaaS offer. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a great day.